Hey guys, welcome back to Rust Admin Academy, where I teach you guys the very best tips and tricks to owning and operating a Rust server. On this channel, I do a lot of plugin reviews and tutorials, and I teach you guys various different things about how to operate your servers in the best ways possible. If you're brand new to the channel, consider subscribing so that you stay up to date on everything that we're working on. And of course, as always, if you take any value out of this video, do me a favor and smash that thumbs up. It helps me out a lot. Today's video is going to be a little bit different than what we've done in the past. Normally, I'd be doing plugin tutorials or something along those lines. But today I want to cover a couple of topics that I keep getting repeated questions about, and I want to make sure that I clarify a couple of things. So the first thing that I want to touch on is how I create my batch files and what I do to my batch files to make them look the way that I do. If you've watched either one of my two tutorials on how to start your Rust server, there's one here, there's one here. Both of those videos have a template in the video description of the exact same server setup that I use on just about every server I ever set up. But the version of the batch file that you'll find in each one of those video descriptions is the same one that just about everyone uses out there. So I'm going to show you what I do to those batch files to make them mine, first of all, and make them a lot easier to understand. Before we get into the actual video though, let me just cover a couple of things. If you haven't already done so, make sure you join the Discord. I'm going to put a link to it above my head right now. I'm also going to put a link to it in the video description down below. In this Discord, we have just over 500 members, and there are so many people in that Discord that want to help you get better, answer your questions, do whatever they can do to help you with whatever it is you need help with that is obviously Rust admin related. So make sure you join that Discord. Secondly, if you haven't already done so, make sure you check out my Patreon at patreon.com/SrtBull. It allows you as the viewers to help support the channel, helps me create better and better content for you guys. Becoming a Patreon comes with special perks. You get special roles in my Discord. You also get your name mentioned at the end of the video with all of my other Patreons. So be sure to stay tuned to the end of this video and check out the names of all the people that have already joined my Patreon. Another quick shout out. If you see this icon in the top left hand corner right now, it's my social media icon that was created by SawyerWD. So a huge shout out to him. Huge thank you. I super appreciate it. I think it looks great. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below. And also give a shout out to SawyerWD. Like I said before, if we just take a copy out of the video description out of either one of those tutorials that I mentioned previously and pasted it into a Notepad++ document, this is exactly what it would look like right here. Basically, everything is written on 2 lines. Well, how do I take this and turn it into this, where everything is all on its own line and everything makes sense and it makes everything super easy to read? As you've seen me do in the past, I put a caret at the end of each line where I want to have a line break. But it's very important that you do it the correct way. I'm going to show you some of the mistakes that I'm seeing people make, and I'm also going to show you how to fix it. Okay, so now that I've added my line breaks or carets, everything looks like quite a bit better than it did before. Now we've got things on individual lines, and we've got line breaks telling the batch file that once it finishes this line of execution, to make sure to go down to the next line of execution. Now, what I'm finding a lot of people have happening to them is they'll get to a certain line in their batch file, and then it'll act like it's ignoring the rest of it. So if we have a look at line number 9, server world size is at 4,000. So we've got a space after 4,000, and then we've got a caret right after that. And then you can see my cursor blinking there directly after the caret. So if we put a space in there and save this file and tried to run this batch file, it would run everything right up until line 9, and then it'll ignore everything else. So this is why you end up with situations where the number of players allowed to play on your server is 500. Your server description is, there is no server description. Your website might be wrong. It might not have a website at all. So basically it's ignoring everything after this extra space. And if you've seen me in my comment section before, I quite often refer to them as ghost spaces because you may not even know that they're there. So what I do when I'm setting up a batch file for the very first time, and especially when I'm working with somebody on Discord and trying to show them the errors in their batch file, what I'll do is I'll just go to the end of each line and hit the end key at the end of each line, so that no matter what, here, I'm going to put this space back. Oh, there was already a space there. So if I just hit the end key on my keyboard at the end of, and take my cursor to the end of each line, as soon as I find one where there's a ghost space there, you just take out that ghost space, keep going, make sure the rest of your lines don't have any ghost spaces on the ends of them, just like that. Now that we know that all of our line breaks are done correctly, we know that every single one of these commands is going to get executed properly. Another common mistake I see a lot of people doing is right here. So I took line 3 and 4 and combined them back into one line. It's basically, this is the part of the batch file where we're telling it to go to Steam and see if there's an update for it. If there is an update for it, it'll run the update for us automatically. So we're logging in anonymously. So we're running steamcmd, we're logging in anonymously, then we're putting in the command force install directory to where we're telling it to go, and then we're also saying app update 258550. Now, two things about this line that I want to make very, very clear. These right here, this c:/steamcmd is a folder name. We're telling this batch file to go to this folder name in C drive and executing steamcmd.exe. We're also telling this batch file to force_dir c:/rustserver. This is a folder name. So why am I pointing this out? Because it's important that you don't have spaces in these folder names. It's very easy to accidentally name your folder rust space server, and then when you try to run this update or you try to install the server for the very first time, people are finding that none of the information is actually being transferred into these folders. Well, it's actually being transferred into a folder that we're not expecting it to go into. So this batch file is actually quite dumb, to be totally honest with you. So what it's actually going to do is it's going to go force install dir c:/rust. It's going to ignore everything after this space. So chances are pretty good that if you've ran into this issue before, and I know some of you have because I've been on a Discord call with you and we've found where these files actually went. So you can have a look around. It's going to be like, depending on how you set it up, obviously a lot of people are putting them on their desktop, which is fine. But you might find on your desktop that you have this folder that you don't understand why it's there. And it might be called something like Rust, or there's a billion different combinations of what people might be calling their folders. So just make sure that you don't have any spaces in your folder names and you're going to do just fine. You won't run into any of these issues. Another thing that people quite often ask me about my batch file is why don't I put a caret at the end of this update line? So we've got app update 258550 and then we've got quit. The reasoning for that is because at the beginning of this batch file, we opened up steamcmd. We told it to check facepunch for an update. We told it where to put the update if there is one. And now we're telling it to quit that part of the batch file. So we don't necessarily have to put a caret at the end of this line because we're already telling it to quit what it's doing. So as soon as it quits, it automatically goes to the next line. So we don't have to put a caret there. So what can happen if we put a caret there? Well, if we put a caret there and it looks just like this, this is actually creating a syntax error for this batch file, and it's essentially going to go through a boot loop. So it's just going to continuously run back to the beginning of this line saying, okay, log in steamcmd, check for update, run the update. Okay, we're done. Now let's go back and do it again. It's just going to do a cycling loop with this particular batch file. It's called what's being stuck in a boot loop. So we take out that caret, we take out the space at the end of quit, and we'll be good to go. It will then carry on to the next line. It'll run rustdedicated.exe in batch mode and blah, blah, blah. You're all set. Everything is fine. I also break this up sometimes. I don't always break it up. So you can put a caret in the middle of that line as long as you're still following the same syntax. So no space on the other side of the caret and you'll be good to go. Another important thing about this batch file template, and now that I'm saying this, I'm actually going to go back on those two videos and change this because this map seed 1234 for some reason does not work, or I've seen it not work. I shouldn't say that it always doesn't work, but I've seen it not work, and I never would have guessed that a map seed was actually causing the issue, but it turns out that that's actually the case. So I'm actually going to change the template to map seed number 150 because map seed 150 at size 4250 is a glorious map. It's probably one of my most favorite proc gen maps. I don't know, it's a cool map. I really enjoy it. I kind of want to run it again on my next wipe cycle. Go check it out. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. It's a cool map. I'm just going to quickly go through and make a couple of changes that I would make to this batch file if I were actually going to run this on one of my servers, just to give you an idea of kind of what it is that I'm looking for. Okay, so that actually looks pretty good. I'd be pretty happy with that. Later on in this video, I'm going to be making reference to this line right here, line 6. This is going to be different. This can be different on your batch file, so just pay attention. So the server identity. The template that I provide you guys on those two videos has just server 1 on here. This is going to be an important detail a little bit later in this same video because I want to show you guys something really cool that you can do with this. So stay tuned for that. The rest of this is I've basically just put all of the pertinent information together. So server port, RCOM port is all together. Basically all the numbers are together at the top, and then all of the alpha characters are all down below. I guess if that's the way you want to look at it, that's fine too. So that's basically everything that I wanted to cover on the batch file specifically. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, I know some of you really struggle with this. Some of you are having a really hard time with the batch file, and that's okay. I struggled with this too. I've now spent almost 5 years doing this. I can write a batch file in my sleep and not even worry about it. I don't expect that of you guys. If you haven't been in this environment before, I want to help you get comfortable with it. So don't worry about asking questions or asking repeated questions or whatever. Just ask your questions. I want to make sure that I get you guys the information that you need to be successful. Another thing that I get asked about a lot is why your server doesn't show up on the game directory. These servers here, I don't know if you guys know this about me or not, but I run 7 servers in total. One of them is my test server, so don't worry about that one. But these 3 servers that you see on the screen right now are actually hosted on a machine based out of Seattle, which is not where I am. The other servers that I operate are basically my, they're just starting out. They're not really populating all that much, and they're just kind of in their beginning stages. So I host them on a local server that I have in my house, which is not the machine that I'm creating this video on right now. So I have 2 separate systems, one that I use on a day-to-day, and I have another system that is just a server that I use just to host my newbie servers. So why aren't they showing up? It's because they're on the same IP address as the machine that I'm currently creating this video on. So how do I make it so that I can actually view them? Or how can I make sure that other people can view them, even though I might not necessarily be able to? That's simple. If you have a VPN, well, first of all, if you don't have a VPN, make sure you go get one. This isn't a sponsored video. I'm not trying to sell you a VPN or anything like that. But if you don't have a VPN, you should have one, a virtual private network. So let me just go ahead and turn on my VPN, and I'll show you that this list will change drastically once that's done. So now all I've done is turned on my VPN for this machine that you're actually viewing right now. So what this does is it changes the IP address of this machine, but doesn't change the IP address of where my servers are actually being hosted. So it's 2 separate locations, which makes it so that now your servers will show up in your game directory. And this is how it's going to appear for everyone else that's looking for your servers. So while you're at home on your own network and you have to use client.connect to localhost and then your port number, this is how everyone else is able to see your servers, providing that you've done your port forwarding properly. Let me just touch on that real quick. So port forwarding is not a complicated process. Don't be afraid of port forwarding. So a lot of people ask me, if it's so simple, why don't I do videos on port forwarding? Well, here's the reason why. Because literally every person in the world has an entirely different setup for their local network. They might have a router that I don't have access to. They might have a modem that I've never experienced. And they might even have a firewall on their computer I don't want to involve myself with. I don't want to showcase how people are actually breaking into computers by opening ports and all this other stuff. So that's the reason why I don't do tutorials specifically on port forwarding. I do know that there are hundreds of videos out there on port forwarding, and what those people are doing is just showing you how it would work on their system, which may not necessarily work on your system. So while I have worked with quite a few people on my Discord, I've gone in calls and I've gotten them to, log into their routers and their modems and all this other stuff, and we've successfully opened their ports, with the exception of Eris. If you have an Eris modem or router, don't call my Discord because I will get very, very angry. The Eris router and modem, I don't know what's going on with that. It is such a strange system. Actually, if anybody from Eris sees this video, I'm not dogging your equipment. It's make it easier. Most other systems like Netgear and all of your mainstream brands of routers and modems, they're all fairly simple. Just know this, the process of port forwarding is essentially the same no matter what system you're using. How to get to it, how to log into your interface might change a little bit from manufacturer to manufacturer, but the process is essentially the same thing. Basically, we're allowing this IP address access to this port in and out. That's essentially what it comes down to. All right, that's enough of that. I hope that's enough of an explanation as to why I don't do tutorials on port forwarding. I'm not gonna lie though, I do spend a lot of time with people trying to get their port forwarding working correctly. And while you're sitting on the other end of the Discord call saying, what the heck's this guy doing? Well, I have to learn your system before I can help you open these ports. So Anyways, let's move on. Let's move past this. Anyways, so if you have a VPN or a virtual private network, you're able to display your servers the same way that you're seeing on my screen right now. So 3 of these servers, like I said before, 3 of these servers are hosted in Seattle. I can see them all the time, no matter what, whether I have my VPN turned on or not. The other 4, however, are on my local network. And if I want to see them on this directory, I have to flip on my VPN for this machine so that it will show up like this. Now, here's where I'm going to ask you guys for help. If there's a way around this that I don't know about, and I should also caveat this with this. There was a period of time not that long ago, 3, maybe 6 months ago, where this wasn't an issue. I had servers on my own local network, but I was still able to see them on my server directory. And then all of a sudden, I want to say in January or maybe even February, something changed on the face punch side of things that then made it so that they didn't show up anymore. So if you guys know of a way that I can work around this for locally hosted servers to show up on the server directory, let me know in the comment section down below. You can even email me at srtbull@gmail.com. You can join my Discord. There's tons of ways that you can get a hold of me, but if somebody out there has a workaround for this, I want to know about it. Okay, so I think that's everything that I wanted to cover on this part of the video. The next part of the video is a lot of people are asking me in my Discord and in the comment section of many of the videos is how do I run multiple servers out of the same folder? So let's hop back into the server that I host the 5 extra servers, including my 1 test server, and I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, so this is what the desktop looks like inside my locally hosted server. So as you can see, I've got 5 servers running right now. 4 of them are legitimately playable servers, and the other one is my test server that I use for creating YouTube videos. It's also where I test out custom maps. I shouldn't say me. There's another guy that I work with quite often. His name is Noobcakes2011. He creates custom maps and he quite often wants them tested. We throw them on the YouTube test server to test out these maps. Okay, so that's all well and good, but how am I doing that? Let me show you. And I apologize for the resolution that you're seeing here right now. It's because I needed to zoom back out so that I could show you all 5 of them. And you guys are getting after me for the resolution of my older videos. I appreciate it. I appreciate the feedback. I really do. But those were like a year ago. Give me a break. Things have changed since then. Okay, so this is the folder where I have all of these servers hosted. And there's other ones in here too that aren't actually running for various different reasons. So as you can see, this is my 1 folder, localhost C drive Rust modded. Okay, so this is where everything is hosted. We've got 1 instance of Rust dedicated data. We've got 1 instance of rustdedicated.exe, and yet we're able to run, well, essentially as many servers as we want out of this 1 folder. So as you can see here right now, I've got 8 different batch files right here. 5 of these are actually currently running right now. The other 3 I could just double click and boot up and they would run as I would expect them to. So a couple of important points that I want you to make a note of. The very first time that you install Oxide onto your servers, it's going to generate this folder right here, this Oxide folder. And it's going to look like any of the Oxide folders that you've ever seen. We've got plugins, we've got data, we've got config files. This is not where you want to actually use Oxide if you're running multiple servers. If we go into this server folder right here, we're actually going to see the server information for each one of the servers that you see a batch file for on the previous screen. So let's just go into Unlimited and then we can go into Oxide, and now you can see here's the actual Oxide information that we're looking for. So we've got our plugins, config, data, all this is in its own folder specific to this server. Well, why am I telling you this? If we go back to the main folder where Rust dedicated data is, if we use this folder here, that means that all of the different servers that we use out of this folder have to use these Oxide plugins and these Oxide configurations. Well, how boring would that be if we had, you know, in my case, 7 different servers that were all operating the exact same way? What would be the point of that? So let me show you how I do this. So there's a couple of different things that we have to do to our batch file in order to allow us to run multiple servers out of the same folder. The first and most important thing that we need to do is determine a name that is going to be indicative of the server that we're running out of that folder. So as you can see here on line 20, I've got server identity is called Unlimited. So if we go back to our folders and we go in here, we can actually see that the folder that we've called Unlimited, that's where it's getting that information from, is from that batch file. Another important thing that we have to do is we have to tell our batch file where to go to look for the Oxide information that we want to use on this specific server. And it has to be in the batch file. Like I said before, if you don't put this information in there, it's just going to try and use that generic one that will be applicable to all of the servers that you have operating out of this folder. So on line number 17 here, you can see oxide.directory, and I'm telling it where to go to get the Oxide information, the plugins, the configs, the data files, all that stuff. We're telling it where to go to look for that. So we're going inside the unlimited folder that we've now created down below with the server identity, plus then we're going into the Oxide folder where it will then find plugins, config, data, etc, etc. So because of those changes that I made, I'm now able to run Oxide inside of this folder. I can determine which plugins and the configurations for those plugins, and it will only affect my unlimited server. It's not going to affect any of the other servers that I have running out of this same folder. I hope this is making sense. Now that I'm like thinking about everything that I'm saying, I think I might be getting a little bit confusing. So if you guys want to run multiple servers out of the same instance of rustdedicated.exe, you can do it. I'm telling you how to do it right here, but if this information is not getting across to you correctly, make sure you join the Discord so that I can help you one-on-one in a video call so that we can get this working for you correctly. I know there's one guy in my Discord right now. We actually just went through this a couple of days ago, actually quite a few days ago now, and he was trying it the way that he thought that he should do it, and it wasn't turning out the way that he expected it to. So I spent 10 or 15 minutes with him. We reorganized this folder for him. We made the changes to his batch file, and all of a sudden everything was working exactly the way that it should be. So again, if this information is not getting across the way that I'm hoping it is, make sure you join the Discord, make sure you direct message me, and I will help you out with this. And this guy can talk once he gets going, hey? Jesus. Okay, so I know there's a ton of information in this video, and I know that it's all very valuable. It might not be valuable to everybody. So if you've made it this far through the video, I appreciate you sticking around. There is a ton of good information in here, and if you want to get into this type of hosting of servers, this is how you do it. I know these are very specific instances, but this is just how I run my life every day. I didn't know that I was doing something out of the ordinary here. I didn't know that, I didn't know that people didn't know how to do this. So that's why I did this video. I wanted to cover a bunch of topics of things that just happen in my brain automatically. And I was assuming that everyone knew, and I shouldn't have. I should have been explaining these details as I've been going along. So now you have this a diarrhea of information. What you guys do with it, I don't know. If you guys have any questions, of course, leave them in the comment section down below. I'll do my very best to answer every single one of them, as I always do. Here's the link to the Discord. If you haven't already, make sure you join that Discord. And of course, here's the link to my Patreon. Go check that out if you feel like you want to support the channel. Do not feel obligated to support the channel. Just know that every dime that goes through my Patreon goes directly back into this channel. I want to make it better for you guys. I want to bring you better content, better production. I just want to make everything better for you guys. And as promised at the beginning of this video, I told you that I would show you a list of my existing Patreons. So a huge shout out to this list of names right here. I appreciate every single one of you that felt that my production was worth it for you to spend your hard-earned money to help me create better quality videos. As my list is getting longer and longer, I need to spend more time vamping right here so that it can go through its entire list, which is a super good problem to have. But anyway, that's my problem. You guys can see CDN Diesel right there. I don't know how he ended up having that restricted like movie thing right there in the middle of his name. It's the font that I used. I don't even know what it is, but whatever character he used in there, it changed it to that restricted video thing. I thought it was kind of cool. Okay guys, that's it for this video. My current timer of the length of this video is at 1 hour, so it's up to me to edit this down to about 10 or 12 minutes, so wish me luck with that. If you guys want to check out some more videos that are definitely more related to plugins and maybe specifically more to server operation, make sure you check out the videos on the right hand side of the screen right now. And of course, if you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And as always, smash that like button for me if you liked this video at all. If you didn't, I mean, of course, you can always give me a thumbs down, but leave a comment in the comment section down below so that I know what I can do to better improve these videos. Okay, that's enough for me. I've been blabbing on long enough. I'll see you guys next Friday with a brand new video.